Ethan grew up in a small industrial town where almost every family depended on the same factory for their income. The town had been built around that factory decades ago. Most houses looked similar, most streets were quiet, and most people followed the same routine every day. Wake up early, go to work, return home tired. Repeat the same cycle the next day. Ethan's father had worked in the factory for nearly 25 years. The work was physically demanding, and the long shifts often left him exhausted by the time he returned home. His mother worked as a receptionist at a small medical clinic. She spent most of her day answering phone calls and organizing appointments. Their life was modest but stable. Still, Ethan always felt something inside him pushing for more. As a child, he was fascinated by stories of people who built companies from nothing. He loved reading about entrepreneurs who started with simple ideas and slowly built successful businesses. Those stories made him wonder if a different life was possible. One evening, during his final year of high school, Ethan's teacher asked the class to share their future plans. Students answered one by one. Some planned to work at the factory. Others wanted to become mechanics, electricians, or drivers. When it was Ethan's turn, he hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I want to start a business." The classroom became quiet. Then a few students laughed. One boy sitting near the back said loudly, "A business? In this town?" Another student joked, "Maybe he'll become a millionaire next year." Ethan didn't argue with them. He had already learned something important about dreams. People often laugh at ideas they cannot imagine themselves. Instead of responding, Ethan simply wrote a sentence in his notebook. "One day, I will prove it's possible." After graduating from school, Ethan faced the same decision as everyone else. The factory was hiring. The job was stable and the pay was reliable. Many of his friends applied immediately. Even his father believed it was the safest choice. But Ethan couldn't ignore the curiosity that had been growing in his mind for years. During long evenings at the town library, he had discovered something powerful. The internet had opened new opportunities that didn't exist before. People were building online businesses from small apartments and even bedrooms. They were selling services, creating digital products, and helping companies solve problems remotely. The idea fascinated Ethan. If those people could build businesses online, maybe he could too. So instead of accepting the factory job immediately, Ethan decided to try something different. With the money he had saved from part-time work, he bought a used laptop from a local electronics store. The laptop was far from perfect. It was slow and sometimes froze unexpectedly. But to Ethan, it felt like the beginning of something important. Every evening, he sat at a small desk in his room and began learning. He watched videos about marketing. He read articles about online business models. He studied how freelancers found clients and how digital services were sold. The more he learned, the more excited he became. Eventually, Ethan decided to try building something of his own. Ethan stared at the screen of his laptop for several minutes. The website he had built looked clean and professional. The designs were organized carefully, and the examples of his work looked impressive to him. But there was one problem. No one was visiting the website. For weeks, Ethan had waited for messages from potential clients, but the inbox remained empty. At first, the silence felt discouraging. He wondered if he had misunderstood how online businesses worked. But after a few days of thinking, Ethan realized something important. The problem was not only the service he offered. The problem was that nobody knew he existed. Without attention, even the best idea remains invisible. This realization pushed Ethan to learn a new skill: marketing. He spent hours watching tutorials about how businesses attract customers online. He studied how advertisements worked, how search engines ranked websites, and how social media could bring attention to small companies. The more he learned, the more complicated the process appeared. But Ethan had already decided something. He would not quit. After several weeks of learning, he decided to try a second project.
Instead of offering design services only, Ethan created a small online guide that explains simple marketing strategies for local businesses. The guide included tips about social media promotion, basic website design, and how small shops could appear in local search results. Ethan believed many small businesses would find the information useful. He spent several weeks writing and organizing the guide. Then he launched it online. At first, he felt confident, but once again, the results were disappointing. Very few people downloaded the guide. Even fewer were willing to pay for it. Another idea had failed. For a moment, Ethan felt the familiar frustration returning. 2 attempts, 2 failures. Many people in his town would have stopped at that point. They would have accepted the idea that entrepreneurship simply wasn't meant for them. But Ethan had already developed a different mindset. Instead of asking why he failed, he asked what he learned. He opened his notebook and began writing again. His marketing was still weak. His audience was not clearly defined. And he was trying to sell something before people trusted him. Those observations became valuable lessons. Months passed while Ethan experimented with new ideas. He tried freelancing platforms. He offered small website services. He experimented with digital templates for businesses. Some ideas showed small progress. Others failed almost immediately. Each new attempt brought new challenges. Sometimes Ethan worked late into the night trying to solve problems he barely understood. Other times he felt completely exhausted. But even during the most difficult moments, something inside him refused to stop. He had become curious about the process itself. Why did some ideas succeed while others failed? Why did customers trust certain businesses? What made people choose one service instead of another? The answers to those questions slowly began shaping Ethan's thinking. By the time he turned 23, Ethan had attempted more than 10 different online projects. Most of them had not succeeded. But something interesting had happened during those years. Ethan had quietly become skilled. He understood marketing tools. He knew how websites were built. He understood customer behavior. Those skills had not appeared overnight. They had been built through failure. Many people around him still doubted his decisions. Some friends believed he was wasting time chasing unrealistic dreams. Others suggested he should accept a stable job like everyone else. Sometimes those comments made Ethan question himself. One evening he sat outside his house watching the sunset behind the factory buildings. For a moment he imagined what life would look like if he stopped trying. A regular job, a predictable schedule, a safe future. There was nothing wrong with that life, but it didn't feel right for him. Ethan realized something important at that moment. Even as success took longer than expected, he would regret quitting far more than he would regret trying. So he returned to his room, opened his laptop again, and continued learning. Failure.
Ethan's journey had already been longer and harder than he originally imagined. Years had passed since he first opened his laptop with dreams of building an online business. During that time, he had tried many different ideas, most of which had quietly failed. But something inside Ethan had changed. In the beginning, every failure felt like a personal defeat. Now, failure felt like information. Each unsuccessful project had taught him something new about how businesses worked and how customers made decisions. One afternoon, Ethan received a message that at first seemed ordinary. The message came from a small restaurant owner in a nearby town. The owner had found Ethan's old website and asked a simple question. Do you help local businesses improve their online presence? Ethan read the message carefully. For a moment, he almost ignored it. After all, he had received many messages in the past that led nowhere. But something about this one felt different. He replied quickly and asked several questions about the restaurant. The owner explained that the food was good and the restaurant had loyal customers, but new customers rarely discovered the place online. The restaurant barely appeared in search results, and its social media pages were inactive. Ethan immediately recognized the problem. He had studied this situation many times while researching marketing strategies. He offered to help redesign the restaurant's online presence. The plan was simple: improve the social media pages, create better promotional images, build a clean and easy-to-navigate website, and make sure the restaurant appeared correctly in online search results. The restaurant owner agreed. The project was small and the payment was modest, but Ethan treated it like the most important project of his life. For several weeks, he worked carefully on every detail. He redesigned the restaurant's social media content. He created professional images for promotions. He built a simple but effective website that showed the menu, location, and customer reviews. When the work was finished, something interesting began to happen. New customers started finding the restaurant online. People searching for places to eat in the area suddenly discovered the business. Within a few weeks, the restaurant owner noticed an increase in customers. He sent Ethan a message that made him smile. "This is actually working." Those 4 words meant more to Ethan than any amount of money. For the first time in years, something he built had produced real results. The restaurant owner soon recommended Ethan to another business owner, then another. A small bakery contacted him, then a bicycle repair shop, then a clothing store. Ethan suddenly realized something important. For years, he had been chasing random business ideas, but the real opportunity had been much simpler. Small businesses everywhere needed help navigating the online world, and Ethan had already spent years learning exactly how to solve that problem. Without realizing it, every failure had been preparing him for this moment. Ethan decided to focus completely on helping local businesses grow online. He improved their websites, he created marketing strategies, he helped them reach customers through social media and online search. The results were surprisingly positive. Each successful project built trust. Satisfied clients recommended him to others. Slowly, Ethan's reputation began growing. For the first time since starting his journey, he felt momentum building. But success also brought new challenges. As more clients contacted him, Ethan realized he could no longer handle every project alone. Emails arrived faster than he could respond. Deadlines began overlapping. The small service he had created was slowly turning into something larger. And with growth came an important decision. If Ethan wanted the business to continue growing, he needed help. The idea of building a team felt intimidating. He had always worked alone. Managing people would be a completely new challenge. But Ethan understood something important. Real businesses are rarely built by one person alone. After several days of thinking, he decided to take the risk. He contacted a young designer he had met through an online community. The designer had talent, but little experience. Ethan recognized something familiar in him. Ethan's small service was no longer just a side project. What started as helping one restaurant improve its online presence had slowly grown into something much bigger. With the help of the young designer who had joined him, Ethan was now handling several business clients at the same time. Restaurants, local shops, and small service companies were asking for help with their websites and marketing strategies. For the first time since he started his journey, Ethan felt something he had never truly experienced before: momentum. Instead of searching desperately for opportunities were now beginning to appear on their own. But success brought a new challenge that Ethan had never faced before: responsibility. Clients trusted him with their businesses. They depended on his work to attract customers and increase their revenue. That meant every project had to deliver real results. Ethan quickly realized that running a business required more than technical skills. It required organization, planning, and leadership. The small team began creating systems to manage their growing workload. They scheduled tasks carefully. They communicated with clients regularly. They tracked the performance of marketing campaigns. Each project became an opportunity to improve their methods. As months passed, the business continued expanding. More companies began hearing about Ethan's work through recommendations. The quality of his service and the honesty of his advice made clients trust him. Unlike many agencies that promised unrealistic results, Ethan focused on practical strategies that actually worked. That approach built long-term relationships. Soon, the small team moved from working in Ethan's bedroom to a small shared office space in the city. The office was simple: a few desks, some laptops, whiteboards filled with ideas and plans. But for Ethan, it represented something incredible. Years earlier, he had been working alone in silence, wondering if success would ever come. Now, he was surrounded by a small team building something real. The growth of the company continued attracting new opportunities. One day, Ethan received an email that surprised him. A regional retail company had discovered his agency through a recommendation and wanted to discuss a potential marketing partnership. The company operated several stores across multiple cities. Helping them would require a much larger strategy than anything Ethan had handled before. The opportunity was exciting, but also risky. If the project succeeded, it could elevate Ethan's company to a completely new level. But if it failed, the damage to their reputation could be serious. For several days, Ethan thought carefully about the decision. The safe choice would be to decline the project and continue working with smaller businesses. But something inside him reminded him of the courage he had used years earlier when he first decided to chase his dream. Growth always requires stepping into uncertainty. Finally, Ethan decided to accept the challenge. The team immediately began planning. They studied the company's current marketing systems and identified several weak. Ethan's company had grown far beyond what he once imagined during the quiet nights when he first started learning online business. What began as a single person experimenting with ideas had slowly evolved into a real marketing agency with a growing team. The small office that once felt spacious was now filled with people working on laptops, discussing strategies and planning new campaigns. Clients from different cities were now contacting Ethan's company for help. For the first time in his life, the business felt stable. But Ethan knew something important. Stability was not the same as true success. Real success comes when a business reaches a level where it can create lasting impact. That moment arrived unexpectedly. One afternoon, Ethan received a message from a national retail company. The company operated dozens of stores across the country and was searching for a new digital marketing partner. They had heard about Ethan's agency through several recommendations. The message invited him to present a strategy for improving the company's online presence. Ethan read the message carefully. For a moment, he remembered the years when he waited desperately for a single client. Now he was being invited to present ideas to a company far larger than anything he had worked with before. The opportunity was enormous, but so was the responsibility. A project of that scale would require a complete transformation of their marketing systems. Ethan knew that if he accepted the challenge, the entire team would need to perform at their absolute best. A few days later, he traveled to the city to meet the company's leadership team. The office building was tall and modern, filled with busy professionals moving quickly between meetings. As Ethan walked into the conference room, he briefly remembered the laughter of his classmates years earlier when he first said he wanted to start a business. Back then, even the idea seemed unrealistic. Now he was sitting in a room discussing strategies with executives of a national company. During the meeting, Ethan spoke with calm confidence. He explained the marketing strategies his team had developed through years of practical experience. Instead of making exaggerated promises, he focused on clear solutions: better online visibility, improved customer engagement, more effective advertising campaigns. The executives listened carefully. After nearly 2 hours of discussion, the meeting ended. They thanked Ethan and said they would review the proposals. Then came the waiting. For several days, Ethan heard nothing. The silence reminded him of the early days when he refreshed his inbox, hoping to see his first client message. But this time, the outcome would be different. One afternoon, his phone rang. The caller introduced himself as one of the executives from the meeting. He spoke clearly and directly. The company had chosen Ethan's agency to lead the project. For a moment, Ethan was silent. The opportunity he had hoped for had finally arrived. The project required immediate expansion. New team members were hired. The office moved to a larger location. For the next year, Ethan's agency worked intensively on the national campaign. They redesigned websites, improved advertising strategies, strengthened the company's digital presence. Slowly, the results began appearing. Customer engagement increased. Online traffic grew rapidly.
Sales numbers improved across multiple regions. The company's leadership was extremely satisfied with the results. As the project expanded,
Success is not about never failing. It is about never quitting.